So, I wanted to talk for a few minutes about slip bobbers and how they play a role in my fishing. I do a lot of bobber fishing, and I even do it with soft plastic for bass. So, what I do is I basically oversize the slip bobber I'm going to use. I get typically 2 sizes larger than I need. That way, I can literally take size weight that I need, and I can go ahead and either do a Texas rig or a Carolina rig, drop shot. You name the method that would not be used with a slip bobber, and I institute a slip bobber with it. And I always have a swivel involved. That's kind of where things get a little bit different. Like when I do a Carolina rig, I basically have to have a swivel, a length of line, and the bullet weight, which will be fairly small, and then another swivel and line and the worm or whatever the soft plastic is that I'm using. Important factor with that, and the reason that it kills so good on a slip bobber is that, especially with a Carolina rig. Carolina rigs are kind of a go-to finesse thing. They move slow enough and they present themselves easy enough in the water for bass to just annihilate them. And they're actually one of my favorites besides poppers on top. So I like to use them, but I like to use them with a slip bobber. And the slip bobber I use is meant for like 2-ounce lures. But the reason it works is you get it to where it goes to the bottom and the bobber sits flat on the water. Then you know that it's not straight up and down. Then you bring it in and you adjust it just a little bit at a time until it's standing straight up. Now what that does is, and I'm talking just Carolina right now, what that does is it allows that sinker to be right on the bottom. So what you're doing is you're giving it a gentle yank, and that lizard's kind of doing this and doing this. And if you air bubble it like some people do and it stands up, it's even better. I don't like to do that just because it's a nuisance. You got to re-bubble the lizard like every other time you get a hit. Lizards get torn up. You got to replace them. So I just do them the way they are because they're light enough when they're on that type of rig they float up anyway. The difference being that they'll come down instead of go up and then down when they have air in them. So there's that technique, and it's deadly when it's used right. I like the bobber for that because it's an instant indication without me having to feel the line that there's a fish on. And it's not a deniable thing. I use a bobber system that was developed by a guy in his garage called the Everlasting Slip Bobber. Now what it does is basically eliminates the need for a bead, a glass bead. And this is because on every size one he has, the straw that goes through it is very hard plastic. It's got a copper ring on the bottom, and it's got the glass bead machined and fitted and glued in the top. So effectively, all you need literally is a stop knot. Those are a dime a dozen. You can get those anywhere. So I do it like that because they last forever, and they are very inexpensive. You can get 6 of any size for $12, where it takes, for the average Thill slip bobber, it's like $12 by itself. I hate Thill bobbers. I think they fucking suck. I've had nothing but issues with them, and I refuse to use them any longer. The thing that's been inherent with slip bobbers that's been a problem has been that the plastic in the bottom portion of it that comes out and goes down to whatever your lure is that you're using, it gets lines in it from the line. It gets worn out, and then you're throwing them out. Well, hey, I don't care if you're spending 60 cents to $1 for a slip bobber. you're still throwing it away. And with the Everlasting slip bobbers, I've still got 3 of the original 6 that I first bought in these very small sizes. Now I've upgraded to the point where I've got 2 sizes above what that is now. It works for most of what I do. I'm getting ready to get some salmon ones, which are big enough for you to throw, 2-3 ounce baits and still have a slip bobber, because of the fact that I want to start throwing bigger lizards and bigger soft plastics for bass, and that's going to require me something that's going to float. And, well, that means I have to have bigger. They're very unpretentious. The colors that they come in are very basic. He basically has a certain type of tube that he's found a supplier of that he buys in bulk. He does the copper caps on his own. They're basically very small rivets that are folded and glued. It's the glass bead in the top is machined. I have found them to be better than any other slip bobber I've ever used, and I've used slip bobbers for a very long time. I would check them out online if I were you and you do slip bobber fishing of any kind, especially for crappie, because they are so sensitive. He uses automotive bumper foam for the foam for the bobbers, and let me tell you something, it's super, super light, and you can detect and see even the smallest of strikes. Don't ever paint it with any kind of enamel, because that adds weight to it. It's literally just some type of light spray paint that he uses in the different colors. They're phenomenal. They're not pretty, but they work. And like I said, I literally do like 90% of my fishing now is on slip bobbers. So you would do well to. Now I'm not the end all be all of all information in the world, but you would do well to listen to that. This is a small one. You can see the size of my hand. I did paint this one. The glass bead is in the top. The copper cap is here. And this is the red. I prefer red because I'm partially colorblind. So I'm very bad at acuity on certain things, certain colors. I can tell they're there, but I can't really tell what they are. So that was one of the small ones that I first started with for panfish, but I found that I like the bigger ones because I can see them when I cast further out from me. I've been trying different modifications. I tried for a long time to do a drop shot on a slip bobber. I couldn't figure out what I was doing. After a couple years of trying, I finally figured out to use a size 8 or size 6 VMC spin shot. Now, the spin shot itself is a hook that is put on a swivel. It's important to have a distinction on that because it's lightweight, it's very strong for the thin gauge of hook that it is, and they have a full 360 degree turn. Now, why is that important? Well, I'm going to tell you. A lot of people, when they drop shot, they tie these esoteric knots and hang these hooks off the sides of the line. But the problem is that it doesn't always orient away from you and toward the fish. With a spin shot, the bait is always oriented toward the fish when you pull on the line. If you leave it sit there, it turns. If a fish touches it, it turns. And they're always able to get a grip on, a bite on them much easier. And this is why I use spin shots. So what I do is I get a couple of number 5 split shots. It's more than enough to pull my setup down and have the bobber straight up. It's not so heavy that it pulls the bobber under. It gives me plenty of bobber over the top of the water. And the fish, when they hit the bait, they don't notice, because what I do is I go stop knot, bobber, swivel, line, top of the hook, another line from the bottom of the hook. I use a 7-turn simple cinch knot on all connecting knots. I've never had a disappointment. I tried 6, they broke. I tried 8, they broke. There's just something magical for some reason about 7 turns. I don't know exactly why it is. I know that I even get better durability out of my knots when I salivate the hell out of them first and pull them down immediately and then cinch them up even more and cut the tabs. I leave a little tiny bit of tab just in case. The fish are going to notice it. I have with this gotten bluegill, bass, crappie, white bass, perch, yellow bass, small wipers, red ear, sunfish, warmouth, catfish, carp. You name the fish, I've probably got it on this basic rig. Only difference between that rig and the one for the drop shot is the size of the hook, because VMC has them all the way through, I think, 5/0. It's a very simple thing to set up, and it's literally between the swivel and the hook, 18 to 20 inches of line, and then from the bottom of the hook out, I do anywhere from 12 to 18 inches as well. You would look at it and think it's cumbersome. It actually casts quite well. And I have pulverized fish with it because of the fact that they don't see anything but the bait. And literally, they see nothing but the bait. So it took me a long time to come to this conclusion. The ESBs, the everlasting slip bobbers, they're just dead reliable. They work and do exactly what you would expect them to do, and they don't wear out. I even have one of the original ones I bought that was run over by a truck, got compressed, and still floats because of the type of foam it is. So you can do adaptations of it with anything. And at some point I'll probably do a short video showing exactly what that rig is. I did show that smallest one in this video, but I'm telling you, it opens up a whole new world of sensitivity and what you can catch. It doesn't matter what type of bait you put on. If you know that's for that species, you're going to catch them if you find them. And the thing with the slip bobber setup that I love is the fact that within a span of a few minutes, if that, you've already found the depth that they're at. I typically fish right off the bottom. There's times where I don't, because I'll see them on like Fish Finder, or I'll see the water clarity and see where they're at, and sight fish and know kind of approximately where it is. But most of the time I'm on the bottom with it. Fish instinctively look for prey toward the bottom a lot because they know that a lot of bait fish, a lot of terrestrials, i.e. bugs, will sink to the bottom of whatever body of water they live in. So it's kind of why I do it. I've had a lot of success in it. I fished next to waterfalls and been off of the bottom and still had success, but for the most part I ain't fished toward the bottom. So it's wonderful. You definitely need to seek out everlasting slip bobbers and spin shot from VMC. I get mine at Bass Pro for the hooks and the weights. I get stainless shot. I don't get lead. Lead is problematic. Stainless steel ones grip line better. I do 90% of my fishing on that rig on a 7-foot ultralight with 4-pound line, and I have pulled 20, 30-pound catfish and carp out with it. So I am a strong believer in the drag, and the reel is more important than the action of the rod, but that's because of the way that I fish. Should I use a bait caster, I have a different setup that I do not use a slip bobber for. So 90%, somewhere in there of what I do is slip bobber, though. It's an amazingly easy system to use.